Hi guys, this is Empress Jackrabbit, and I'm doing just a little short film I wanted to make today. I had some thoughts in my mind about the movie Light Girl. I got a chance to see it. It's a documentary. I think it's created by Bill Duke, who, if you don't know Bill Duke, he was also an actor. He was in Car Wash. He was the revolutionary one, as Richard Pryor called him. But he's been in a lot of movies. Very great director, though. And this is looking at the life and experiences of light-skinned women. We had the original movie, which was Dark Girl, and so now this is an answer to that because it's both sides to every coin. I wanted to watch it, really, but then I just kind of became reluctant about it. Um, it's a documentary on the experiences of colorism, as what they call it, whereas people in the same ethnic group are prejudiced against one another based on the color of their skin. And I want to say that this was my issue forever. Um, Being light skinned and also biracial, half black and half white. My dad was white, my mother was black. And that was from the 60s on, where I lived in the Midwest. They didn't have, they had very, very, very few mixed people because I lived in a city that happened to be one of the worst segregated cities in the country. It's been lingering between number 1 and number 7 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it's very segregated. It's still segregated to this day. Tremendous amount of racism going on in that city. And people really struggle there. I don't care what your skin color is. But in my case, I can remember being very small and not knowing what I was. It wasn't anything that was ever brought up. That was my mother and that was my father. And that's how it was. And then in the 60s, there was the riots, the 1960s riots, and they also included Milwaukee. And we lived in the inner city, which wasn't really considered the inner city at the time. Everybody was homeowners and took care of their property and stuff like that. Now in that area, of course, you don't want to go in there, um, but we played with everybody on the block, and nobody ever gave us any trouble. All the people were black that lived there except for us, but we thought we were just the same as everybody else. Now, in 67, we moved out to the suburbs to get away from the drama in the city, the riots. They used to have the National Guard riding down the street. We had curfews, and my mother and father just did not want that to be a life for us. They had burned down a lot of the stores and things, so we moved out to the suburban area. And I can remember, first being excited because it was a house and they were buying it, and it was a big ranch style house. You know how when you're a kid it just seemed like a mansion. At the time we lived in a city. We lived in a 2-family type of home, and somebody else owned it. But anyways, we got out there. And I remember us being out on our bikes and stuff. And there was this little white boy and white girl, brothers and sisters, little redhead kids. And we were just children, so we wanted to play. So we went over to them to play. Next thing we know, we ride right up on them, and they're calling us niggers, zebras, half-breed, and at the time, they were in our age range, and I know that I was 7, and my brother was 9 or 10, my sister was about 6, and they were in that same age range, and they was calling us that. Now, and this is the truth, I had no idea what they meant, what they were trying to say to us, and but the tone of it, the tone, the way people say stuff can mean a lot, so watch your tone. But anyways, the tone of it seemed mean and cruel. So we went home, and my mother was not there, but my father was there. And he's white, like I said. So we told him they're calling us niggers and zebras and half-breeds. And we're like, what does that mean? Oh my God, my dad got furious. And my dad is a Southerner. He is a Southerner. And if you don't have anybody Southern in your family, then you don't understand what I mean. He's a Southerner in the sense that he had a Southern accent, and he always carried his gun and his half pint in his pocket. And he was really rough and ready. And I saw him put his gun, he slid it in his pants pocket, and he went down to that lady's house, and he told us to stay at the house, so of course we stayed because he had the gun, and we didn't know what was happening. So then he came back up, but evidently, I think their mother wasn't home, and she came to our door, and when she knocked on the door, he didn't like to be disturbed anyway, he opened the door and he cursed her out from here to New York City, and I'm not kidding, for calling us all these names. And he just went on and made her he told her to get her fat ass off his property and all that. And so I can remember her running from the door. Woo, woo! We were outside laughing. And the next thing you know, like later on that day or the next day, her husband came up and he wanted to come up and confront, and my dad pulled his gun on him, told him he would blow his brains off. Get off my property. Your kids are not allowed over here. They better never say nothing to my kids. And that's what we realized, that we were different. Okay, so now cut to elementary school, and I remember one day myself and a couple of white girls were walking on the playground. Now, we lived on the suburbs, so there really wasn't any black families. The ones that were there, they had retired from major companies, and they had bought them a house out there. They didn't have any young kids. So I'm walking on the playground, and one of my little friends looked at me and said, "You're not really black, right? You just have a suntan." And that was very surprising to me. I can remember I think I was like 4th grade or 5th grade. I didn't really even know what she was talking about. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. And I thought she meant like a dark skin color, but now I realize she meant African American. We didn't say that at the time. And then when I went to middle school, I can remember just yearning and longing to fit in with the white girls, because it seemed like the older I was getting, the less receptive the white girls were to my company. And now we had busing, so at the middle school we had black girls there, and oh my goodness, I just longed and yearned to want to be accepted. And they used to talk about me and how corny I was, or I couldn't dance, or they want to fight. I had to learn to get real tough. I had to learn to fight real hard, real fast, because I had those southern family that was like, if they beat you up and you don't get out there and fight, you getting a whooping when you get home. And they were for real. So, you look at the extension cord and like, okay, and you got out all your anger right there, to where I became a person that fought all the time. To the point I had to make myself stop about the 9th grade, because wasn't no boys even paying attention to me. They knew that I was going to fight. But I had to constantly deal with, what are you? What are you? What are you? I've had people assume, oh, you're Italian. Oh, you're Hispanic. Not even asking me, just telling me who I was. And it has been a trial and a tribulation. Even up until a couple of weeks ago, I went over with my husband to one of his friend's house. And his friend said, oh, I know you, some kind of Indian. And I just looked at him and he said, well, what are you? I'm like, wow. I'm at this age and this stage of my life, and I still get that. I don't care what school I'm teaching at, what city I'm in. I get it all the time. So in middle school, I can remember, like I said, wanted to be friends with the dark-skinned girls, and I just constantly was subjected to meanness, cruelness. And I know middle school is a time where kids try to act up or act out. But it was really hard. And like I said, even to this day, I deal with the what am I's or people trying to tell me what I am. Sorry, folks. But at the end of the day, being at this point in my life, I'm not in a struggle to try to fit into anything. I am biracial. I'm proud to be biracial. And at a time in my life, I can remember being so ashamed to be biracial or to be seen out and about with my dad. And my dad is no longer living. So I've come to terms with all that years and years ago. But to have even a moment's thought of it's his fault or my mom's fault, which I used to think that very strongly, that had they made a better decision or a wiser decision, they would have thought about what the aftermath would be on us, especially coming in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Now you see more and more mixed kids, and that's terrific. And I often see when I'm going into the grocery store or Walmart or something that the kids or the parents will be looking at me, maybe wondering, is that what they're going to look like, or is she mixed too? But now I'm proud of it. I would not cut off one side to favor one side or the other. It took both of them to make me, and I think they did a pretty good job. I've got my act together on many levels. I've had a terrific career in education, and life has been pretty good. The usual ups and downs that everybody has, but I don't hold any hurt feelings or grudges towards anyone, because at the end of the day, I'm a strong believer if they knew better, they would have done better. But it's a great movie for any and everybody to watch, because there's always two sides to a story. There's really three. It's that left side, the right side, and the truth. So check it out. It's called Light Girls. I know it's coming back on again this Sunday. At any rate, comment, like to hear your thoughts on it, subscribe, thumbs up, and thank you.